Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
We are back with LibertyNation.com editor-in-chief Leesa K. Donner and legal affairs editor Scott Cosenza, who were at the center of Liberty Nation's coverage of the historically ugly turn of events at the U.S. Capitol this week. So, Scott, the media has always echoed Hillary Clinton painting Trump supporters as deplorable and irredeemable, essentially rubes and racists. Tell us about the demographic composition of the crowd as you witnessed it.
I would make it out about 15 to 20% rubes and 25 to 30% racists, probably by my count, back of the envelope calculation. It was a cross section. It was majority white, but there was plenty of. You didn't have to like search high and large to, or far and wide to find a, member of a minority. It was mixed sexes, men and women. I didn't see terribly many children. It skewed maybe a little bit older. And the people I talked to were from all over. I'm trying to think if I even talked to a single person from the area. Most of the people were in from out of town, Washington State, Florida, Texas, all who thought there were illegal acts or shenanigans or skullduggery or any other word you want to put it, that the election that Joe Biden says he won was not fairly executed in so many states to make it a corrupt enterprise, basically. And they were there to shake their fist and say, how dare you, SOBs? We're not going to take it, basically.
Leesa, you and I attended a Trump rally way back in November of 2015, trying to figure out who are these people? Who are these people that are rallying around this guy, Trump, who seems like a long shot? He's a bombastic billionaire. And we were quite surprised at the demographics of it. You've always followed closely and had a handle on the Trump base. So do you have a sense of what this event has done to the base? Are they emboldened, shocked, depressed? What?
Well, just one little thing I wanted to mention. I read this today. I don't know if this is true, but it sounds about right. I heard that there were a number of older women in fur coats who had, made their way into the U.S. Capitol. And that sort of makes sense to me because, when Trump was first running back in 2016, we would go into an airport, or 2015, we would go into an airport and we would see somebody kind of crazy looking and we would go, Trump or Sanders, because
right.
you couldn't tell. And when we went to
and we would then debate it. You'd say, I think he's a Trumpist. I said, no, I think he's a Bernie guy. I think he's a Bernie bro. And we would debate it and never come to a conclusion.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's not just one set of people, but everyone from Trump on down is being excoriated today. Of course, Trump will be blamed for all of it. And again, that's a broad brush thing. Sometimes I wonder if we've become too simple-minded to see nuance and shades of gray, or does everything these days have to be black and white? You say in your writing often you talk about one-step thinking, and I think you're really onto something there. In this case, it seems to me that the Trump base is all over the map in its reaction to the events at the Capitol.
So, Scott, put your constitutional lawyer hat on. And how do you believe this insurrection will affect America's constitutional order and law and order itself?
Well, to the first question, I don't think it'll have very much effect at all on the constitutional order. I think it'll be a non-event looking backwards. But for law and order itself, I think it is a consequential event. And I suspect and predict that political violence will increase in the United States as a result of this. We had a summer long or even more of riotous behavior throughout American cities that was unaddressed and ignored and buoyed by so many on the left side of the political aisle, mostly, big city Democrats and national big Democrats. They seem to use the violence to their advantage to try to sow discord to damage Donald Trump. At least that's my perception. And it's the perception of a lot of the people who were out there on the National Mall. And because they kind of got a taste of it, I think, and in a way it was a good taste for some of them, for some of the Americans who think it's good to give some rather than to just get some when it comes to political violence. And until all Americans reject all political violence, we're just going to get more of it. And that's not what we've had. So.
Yeah, let me just say there, the media, well, the political parties and the left-wing media sort of treat it like protesting is fine as long as they're my protesters. But when the other side starts protesting, it's like horrible.
Right. One side, it's understandable. The other side, it's deplorable.
People can tune into the Uprising podcast this week to hear we're going to play a couple of these calls that various like superintendents of schools and like community leaders have put out to people in their community, like, be careful about what's happening at the Capitol, that they never do for any of the left-wing violence occurring rallies or protests. But for this one, they've gone out of their way. And it just, to me, it's just so because they did that, then I think that means we know they haven't gotten the message. They're not eschewing violence writ large. They're only against violence that they see as politically damaging. And so welcome to more violence, I think.
Antifa, BLM, no big deal. Trump supporters, now that's frightening.
And not just no big deal, Tim, but to say to the organizers and leaders of those movements that they're right to do so, that they're right to go hit the streets. It's far from just a passive kind of allowing. It's giving them the intellectual motive to say, yes, it is a racist society and you're right to hate it and need to knock it down. So I think it's even worse on that side.
Yeah, it's the old permission concept.
Now, Leesa, you wrote a piece about how conservative media coverage of the event, as well as mainstream media coverage, was laden with virtue signaling about how awful it all was. And we don't do this stuff as conservatives and all the rest. What exactly was lacking in the coverage of this unforgettable event?
Oh my gosh, it's somewhere between nauseating and unbearable. You know, we need to condemn violence. Well, hello, that's original. I don't know a lot of people sitting around saying, I love violence. Let's buy I love violence t-shirts. Frankly, the coverage thus far has been insipid. And let's talk about what really happened, or maybe why, or perhaps what can be done to prevent such a thing from occurring again. Instead, all we get is the same pablum over and over. How awful it was. It was just despicable and horrendous. Yeah, okay, it was surprising, but who can honestly say after all the murder and mayhem we witnessed this summer that this is the end of the world as we know it? Please. Hi, I'm Leesa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza, and this is Liberty Nation.
Now let's take a look at the LibertyNation.com electoral leaderboard. It's still 238 for Joe Biden.
What if stories and legends can offer us the key to unraveling the hottest political issues of the day and apply their lessons to understanding the chaos of modern politics?
Impeach 45!
Only where freedom of speech is honored can people who look, sound, or think differently be truly free.
If you're discussing something that's difficult, the probability that you're not going to offend each other is zero.
President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Donald J. Trump is now president.
With one click, Liberty Nation delivers tomorrow's news
And remember, liberty.
today.
All the time and everywhere.
LibertyNation.com.